Hi, I'm Eric Glass, and welcome to In Good Company, where we talk about the most important issues facing your business with some of the smartest minds in the business. And today we're talking about career development and learning. We're going to look at what some of the organizations are facing with the skills gap, as well as what they're doing to address learning and development for today's employees and how technology makes a difference. With me here today to talk it out is Josh Bersin, founder and principal of Bersin by Deloitte, and Greg Pryor, Vice President of Leadership and Organizational Effectiveness at Workday. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So this is a really exciting topic. So much change happening in the workforce. I think data is showing that careers are now spanning 60 years, which sounds utterly exhausting. And whereas at one point it was one set of skills, one role, now it's about a diversity of experience, diversity of skills. So how do companies prepare for this? And Josh, why don't we start with you?
Well, the issue of careers is really personal to everybody. We all want to have a great career, and so we're all trying to figure out what that means. And we're living longer, as you mentioned, Eric. The average lifespan is going up by 18 months every 5 years. So we're living longer at a very rapid rate, which means that we're going to start working somewhere in our 20s, and we might work into our 70s and 80s, and our children will live into their hundreds. So during that 60, 70, 80 period of time, companies are going to go out of business, technologies are going to completely change, AI, robotics, and new tools are going to revolutionize work. So we got to be very adaptive. And so the biggest message really in careers is that each one of us have to reinvent ourselves pretty regularly on a continuous basis. And that's kind of what the career world is all about.
Well, I think the new ideal career, and we're seeing this definitely within our millennials, is that the people are thinking about career experiences in really like 18-month chunks or 2-year chunks, and saying I'm building those sets of career experiences, I'm building new skills and capabilities, I'm doing things that are really pretty dramatically different than the so it's not just little incremental change. It's just a fundamentally different way to think about careers, to be ready for new roles, to be ready for new technology. It's a rapidly changing world.
So what does the ideal career look like now?
So it's really this fundamental shift from career promotions, and promotions was really the way we would think about careers in the past, to career progression. And that is progression that looks at building new skills all the time and just having fundamentally different experiences. And so we really talk about career engagement around this opportunity of career experiences, rather than the sort of the old school, I'm in a role for a long period of time. I'm just consistently getting new sets of experiences. And if we can't, as an organization, give people, as Josh had said, sort of a sense of that they are progressing, they're going to go to a place where they feel like they're progressing. It's just that simple.
I've been doing a lot of research on this because it's one of the hottest topics people want to talk about. So I recently wrote an article called Catch the Wave. And the metaphor that really came out was the idea of surfing. So during your career, whatever stage you're at, you're catching a wave and you're cresting the wave and it's going great, and after a while the wave is over and you have to go back out to sea and catch the next wave. And really that's the way we all need to think about our careers, either as a professional in one particular domain or as we move from domain to domain or move into management. It's a continuous reinvention that's going on in the workforce that we have to take personally and really sometimes challenge our own capabilities and say, you know what, I need to learn something new, or I need to do something differently in order to continue to catch the next wave that's coming.
I'll take the metaphor one further. You think about beaches, right? And maybe different companies. What are the beaches to go to? Where are the waves breaking the best? That is what people look for. We need to be building new skills, having new experiences. And so, I find that at least our folks are thinking in a very similar way and saying, where can I go to enjoy that next wave, to learn more, to have that experience? And they're going to be looking at that broadly. And our software is going to be telling us more and more of that. Where is the next experience? What are, even within Workday, we've got the opportunity, we can identify specific career interests and what roles might I be interested in. And then Workday actually automatically sends me a message that says that role just opened up a few hours ago. And so that idea of always knowing what's happening, where are the waves breaking well, where are the surfers going and going out to ride those waves, I think it's a perfect metaphor for what's happening today.
Well, and partly what strikes me too, just I guess in that same notion is, Josh, you were also talking about just the speed of business, the acceleration, and a sort of a new expectation that there's going to be opportunities for change or growth, every 18 months, 24 months. But, like part of that idea of surfing is there's a lot of waiting for the swell to come in. There's a lot of waiting for the wave. And so how do you sort of balance that part of it?
Well, I think young people in particular are very impatient about their careers. How come I didn't get promoted this year? How come I can't get a new job? How come I can't get in this new role? And I think just like surfing, you have to sometimes wait until the right opportunity comes. You've got to paddle out. That takes time and energy too. And sometimes you got to let a couple of waves go because they aren't the right ones. During my career, I can remember several times where I stayed in a job or a company a little too long, but it was the right thing for me for personal reasons. And then later, the wave came for the next, wave, and I took it. And so I think some of, career management today is patience, and being aware, being ready for the opportunity when it comes, and having a little bit of internal sense of self that things will work out as you look around and look for the right things. And hopefully your organization is giving you great tools to help you find whatever the next opportunity is inside the company.
There's a certain level of empowerment there too. I mean, to Josh's point of when, historically you sort of have to use that intuitive sense in yourself, and sometimes you can go a little too long. So having, your organization, be there to help you see what the next path is, I think is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, I think one of the biggest challenges that companies have is really the culture. Do you reward people and allow people to move to new roles when they may not be experienced yet in that new role? Will the hiring manager take an internal candidate against an external candidate who has experience in that role? That's a cultural thing that companies have to really kind of strategize about. And I think that it is very important to support that and create an environment of internal mobility.
Well, let me just ask this, and maybe we've hit on some of the high points, but is there anything else we can do when we think about specific to the HR space to just deliver these kinds of new experiences?
Well, I think one of the biggest missing pieces, and Greg, maybe you're doing this, is coaching, is helping people. I mean, we all need career coaches. None of us really know what we should do next. We're usually too close to it internally. And a career coach who understands the opportunities inside the company, probably does some work in understanding the job market, should be there to help people at certain pivotal parts of their career make some decisions about what to do next. Because the chances are if they don't get that internally, they're going to look outside and you're going to lose them. So that's one thing that I think HR could do better.
Yeah, really the notion of almost an internal talent agent, right?
Yeah.
There are people who are looking for opportunities, they're coaching you, they're, whether it's the software, but also helping you. I think we have a lot of people who we try to help understand what are the things that you want to do? What are the things that you're passionate about? What are your, special sort of gifts and talents, and what jazzes you up? And so I couldn't agree, I think, more. And it's an organization's responsibility to provide that as part of the career value proposition of, hey, we're going to help you, whether it's here or maybe even it's in other places, and help you, coach you and counsel you and support you in whatever that looks like, whether it's, here at our company or, gosh, maybe even somewhere else. And companies like Deloitte and Accenture and others actually do a great job of taking the long term.
Let me add one point to that. One of the things that's actually really needed is you have to change the role of the manager. See, most people have a manager who's responsible for managing your job, your work, your tasks, maybe giving you a performance appraisal and so forth. That's not always the same as the coach. And so in a lot of organizations, particularly in Deloitte, it's like this, is you have a career advisor or a career coach, or sometimes it's called a sponsor, that is not your manager, and it's a different person who's taking a different interest in your career. And we need to figure out ways to build that role into every company, whatever it may be called.
Yep, I couldn't agree more.
I think that's huge. I could use one. I'd like one. Okay, well, I think you guys set the table in a nice way. Let's jump into the topic of learning. How do we think workplace learning has evolved over the last 5 or 10 years? Josh, why don't we start with you?
Well, it's been through a lot. I got into the learning industry in 98 or so, 99, when e-learning was just starting. And that was when people basically thought, oh, we'll take all this classroom training and we'll just put a bunch of videos or, online page turning stuff, and we'll shut down our corporate universities. And that didn't really happen. And now we really live in a world of micro-learning, which is very small chunks of information. And I think YouTube popularized that. Anything you ever want to do at home, you can learn how to do it on YouTube.
In 5 different ways, right? Yeah.
And corporations haven't gotten there yet. Corporations are, probably 4 or 5 years behind the consumer internet in building this dynamic experience. So that's one thing. The second thing that I think has really changed is the LMS market, and you guys are very much a part of this. The LMS vendors and the LMS technology that was invented that most companies have, that they've spent, it's a $3 or $4 billion market, was designed for the traditional paradigm: start, take a course, complete, get an assessment, finish, certification, done. That happens, but that's not the primary way people learn. People have less patience, we have less time, we are time slicing our day all the time, and so we need technology platforms that'll manage all that. And I think that's where Workday is going to be very successful, and a bunch of startups are trying to figure out how to do this in a brand new way. So most companies I talk to are going through a learning transformation. That's what they usually call it, and it usually involves figuring out whether they have the right technology, moving their content to a more dynamic format, and also opening up the channel for internally developed content to be shared, because most of the knowledge you need in your company is in your company, but it's in somebody else's head who's busy doing their job. And so all of those are really aspects to the new world of learning.
Yeah, and I would, as a practitioner, as a person who has accountability for that learning experience here at Workday, I actually wrote an essay that was published in Chief Learning Officer magazine back in February, and the headline was exactly as Josh said, which is moving from a conduit to a curator. So for so long, learning organizations, learning professionals, their credibility was built on creating and being the conduit and creator. And gosh, we just can't keep up with the speed. And so we see ourselves in our group as a curator. We want to create the experience, and most importantly, we want to get that user-generated content, get people on their mobile phones, capture what's happening in real time, publish it immediately, and then let what we sort of call cloud source that content. Get it up on the cloud and let our colleagues vote up or down who's a master of this, what's cool and happening now, and so that notion of the learning professional, if you will, as a curator moving forward is a big shift for people. Yeah.
So then, how do you get employees to love learning and consistently use the content and resources that are available to them?
People love to learn. It's how we survive. And I think to Josh's point, we've just had applications and processes that got in the way of that natural. And so for me, user-generated content, the ability to get out of the way and ensure we're curating experience actually is just unleashing this fundamental. People want to go home on the bar at night and get on their mobile phone and get smarter. They want to do that. Our systems have historically, I think, gotten in the way of that.
Well, and I think one of the things I've seen in L&D departments and HR departments is we have to get out there and watch people working and see what their day is really like. Because we might build this beautiful content that is absolutely magnificently designed and it's got great stuff in it, and then we throw it out there and they're either too busy or they can't find it or it's not quite relevant to the job they're doing right now, and we don't know that unless we're with them. And that's really where design thinking has come into learning, that a lot of these new ideas are just more, it's getting closer to the employee who is always learning, like Greg said, and always wants to learn. And you find that sometimes they just need a little article, they need a little snippet of information, they need to know who to call. All those are learning experiences.
What would be your recommendations to companies interested in building out a more robust learning program? Josh, why don't we start here?
Well, I mean, the technology is great and exciting and really, really powerful, but I think the most important thing is to focus on the segment of the workforce where there's the biggest opportunity. I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with a large bank in Canada, and they said, look, of all the workforce segments we have, the one that's the most critical to us is the new hires in the branches for the first 1 to 2 years. So we need a 1 to 2 year program for them so they immediately become productive. We know what stages they're going to go through. So I think you have to focus. I mean, throwing all this technology out there and hoping people use it is great. It sometimes works, but you still have to figure out where the real action is and focus in that area. So that's my advice is, find a place where you can add a huge amount of value quickly.
We actually have a customer who actually they have a big trucking operation, and they have 2 drivers to go from store to store. And actually the passenger, luckily it's not the driver, we do not think you should learn and drive at the same time, but the passenger is on their mobile phone using Workday Learning to learn about the newest things, the thing that may actually be deployed to say, hey, here's how you think about, a particular situation. So really, fundamentally, getting away from this idea, it has to be in a classroom, or it's like, allow people to go where, if you have 10 minutes on the BART, if you're about to go into a meeting and you want to, so really shift the using mobile technology and really imagining the newest things.
Well, Josh, Greg, I mean, this has been a great conversation. Dare I say, I've learned something, so that's very powerful. We've been talking about the future of career development and learning programs. Thanks for joining another episode of In Good Company.